everyone, it's Sybil Starr. I'm here to give the astrology update for the Gemini solar eclipse, which occurs on June 10th. Its maximum is at 3:41 a.m. It lasts about 4 hours. The new moon itself is actually at 3:53 a.m. Pacific time. This eclipse is visible in the northeastern United States, most of Europe, and parts of Asia. This is what is called an annular solar eclipse, which means that there is a ring of fire around this eclipse. So the moon comes between the transit of the moon moves in front of the sun in just the right alignment to block the light of the sun, except for a ring of fire. And eclipses, they happen twice a year. Solar eclipses happen twice a year, usually, well, always. Lunar eclipses can happen more than that or less, more or less than that. And eclipses are harbingers of change. They actually, during the time of the eclipse, it changes the electromagnetic field of the earth because the light of the sun is blocked. And everything in our solar system is made of photons of the sun. So it allows energy that is not from the sun, let's say cosmic energy, it allows it to come in more easily. And eclipses are harbingers of change. They always bring some kind of change. And this is what is called a North Node eclipse. And I don't know if I said it's at 20 degrees of Gemini. And eclipses bring in new information. This is a North Node solar eclipse, and so it brings in new information as well as new beginnings. It is a time of revelation, and eclipses are always time of revelation. The south node of the moon allows things that have been hidden to come to light, and actually so does the solar eclipses. And it is a new beginning, like I said, a revitalization, because it happens at a new moon. And this energy can last for up to a year. I would say will definitely last until the next eclipse, which is next December. And those of you who have planets at 16 to 23 degrees of mutable signs, which are Gemini, Sagittarius, Virgo, and Pisces, are most strongly impacted by this eclipse. And those who have air signs in those same degrees are more moderately impacted, but in an easier way. So what about this particular eclipse? What is its message? Well, I feel like we are in the midst of a lot of revelations. Things that have been hidden have certainly come to light during this eclipse season. First off is all of the dead children, the bodies of indigenous children that were found in Kamloops at the residential school, and what that means, and is this the only one? Of course, we know that's probably not true, as well as what is also coming to light, all of the experimentation that has been done on indigenous children. I read one experiment that was about the effects of starvation. They had a control group that they fed and took care of, and another group that they didn't. And I mean, how that's kind of like mad scientists. I also read an article about how electricity was used, the electric chair, just to check the effects of it. It's pretty astonishing. And another thing that has come to light, and this is the serious consideration of the virus lab leak from Wuhan. I mean, this was considered debunked, I guess you would say, but it has come to light again because there are more and more credible sources, coming forth about how this could be where this actually happened, because it is not uncommon in these virology labs for viruses to escape. And so anyway, that story continues to unfold. And a third one is about the UFOs. The government is now telling us that, yes, in fact, UFOs are in our airspace, in our field. And of course, many of us have known that. And of course, the big, question is, why is the government telling us? To me, that's a bigger question than whether or not they're real, but anyway, in this time of Gemini, Gemini is so much about curiosity. So I feel like I'm calling this title, this uh, update, a holy curiosity. What if all of these things that are coming to light are true? I feel like the Gemini is asking us to allow for that possibility and to explore that potential. We are in the field of all possibility. And as Pablo Picasso said, everything in our imagination is real. And it is. Everything we can imagine is real, is what he said. Everything we can imagine. And Einstein called curiosity holy. And it is holy because it leads us to the truth. Once we start asking questions, the South Node lunar eclipse asked us to let go of old beliefs. And the thing is, if we're holding on to old beliefs, it's hard to have curiosity when we have an idea of the way the world is and the way the world should be. And this Gemini solar eclipse is asking us to open up to the possibility that anything that we can imagine could be true, and to follow those lines of questioning. Gemini asks us to have critical thinking skills, and to know it's the sign of the heretic. It's one of the archetypes of the heretic, as that there are no sacred cows. Gemini is asking us to open up to possibility and be curious and follow those lines of curiosity with an open mind. And our world perspective could change, as well as our personal life. And the other thing that Gemini is so connected to is communication, all forms of communication, words, speaking, teaching, writing, all ways of communicating. And Mercury rules this solar eclipse, and Mercury is actually conjunct this solar eclipse, Mercury retrograde. And Mercury is, in his Greek name, was called Hermes, and he's the magician. And in the Thoth deck, I can't remember the other name for it, the Crowley deck of the Tarot, the magician is Mercury, and he is juggling lots of different things. And one of those is speech. And it's really how important this, and it's called communication. And it's magic. Words are magic. Our voices are magic. So anyway, this Mercury retrograde is also tightly conjunct this eclipse. And Mercury, as we know, is god of the mind, god of communication. And when Mercury goes retrograde for 3 weeks, 3 times a year, every year, and it goes retrograde when we've gotten ahead of ourselves. And so it's always a time to slow down, and to just kind of, all of the Mercury retrograde warnings are in effect because Mercury is in retrograde, is in Gemini, the sign it rules. So it makes it extra strong, especially around communication, that our communication may be off, and to be patient. People may not see your emails. People may not see what you send them. People, just to know, all kinds of communication are off, but because it's a time to not start anything new as well, if you can avoid it, and not sign any contracts, because there's something you don't know. There's some information that is wanting to come to light that you don't yet know. And so it's time to reflect, review, reassess, rethink, and especially let go of how we think things should be, to be open to what is evolving. What is the universe showing us in this Mercury retrograde time? What is it we don't know that is still yet to come? And definitely a time to start asking questions and following, these different revelations that are coming to the surface. And you may have revelations in your own life, your own personal life, and to be open to what allowing curiosity to show you. I read this great quote. It said, curiosity will conquer fear even more than bravery. It's to just be open to what the universe wants to show you. And as we know, when we change our mind, we change our lives, because our minds are related to how we perceive the world. And when we change how we perceive the world, we can then change our lives. Now, this eclipse is also in a square to a Neptune Athena conjunction in Pisces. And Mercury and Gemini are very left brain, very just give me the facts, ma'am. Follow the data, but Neptune says that's not the whole picture. Number one, there is a lot of misinformation in the field. We've known that. And the question is how to navigate it to find the truth. And in this time, the veil is being lifted with these revelations, but will we believe what we see? And with Neptune, the danger is always to believe what we want to believe instead of what we're actually being shown. So there is an integration of critical thinking skills combined with intuition and inner knowing. It is like the mind asks the questions that lead us to the truth, but the heart is what really knows the truth, and you can feel the truth. And if something doesn't feel right, it isn't right. And to really follow that. And when something does feel right and it lands as your heart as truth, trust that and know that it is, because that's where we are. We are on this quest for what is our deepest truth. And Rumi tells us that which is false troubles the heart, but the truth brings joyous tranquility. And as we know, truth can bring peace, even if it is a hard truth. If there's something in our world that doesn't feel right, if we have the courage to be curious and explore it, we can come to a place that brings us peace once the truth is really known. And in these uncertain times, to replace fear with curiosity, because the nature of the understanding of our reality is changing. And this is, I think, kind of really uh, because the way things have always been, we're discovering that's not really the way things really are. The way things are now, things are changing, and our understanding. We are moving from a consensus reality based in Newtonian physics into a consensus reality based in quantum physics. We're beginning to understand that everything is energy and that we are the field, and everything we think and feel impacts the field, and that words and thoughts and emotions create. And this can also be a very creative time with Athena. Athena brings in that real level of creativity and feminine wisdom, which is about the combination of instinct, intellect, and intuition. Okay. Now, there's another really important aspect that is going on, and that is Mars opposite Pluto. Mars is also in a trine to that Neptune. And so the first thing, this always brings up to me is about aligning with divine will. But what does that actually look like? And, these are two planets, are Mars and Pluto, are two planets that are very powerful. Pluto gets to the real core of of our unconscious, of what we're carrying around in our unconscious. But it's also always about self-empowerment by bringing that light, or excuse me, bringing that darkness to the light, bringing what is hidden within our own psyches to the light. And Mars opposite it is about the courage to do that. And it's often a power struggle when these two planets come together. And I've heard several people say that they feel like there is a battle between the light and dark, good and evil happening in other realms, not just on this realm. But I also believe that this battle is what is actually going on within our own hearts. And that is where the real work is. As we know, we're creating our world at all times. And I feel like this story, many of you have heard it, really applies to this aspect. And it is the story of two wolves. There is a story of two wolves in Cherokee culture in which a grandfather teaches his grandson an important life lesson. The grandfather tells his grandson there is a battle going on inside of all of us. He says, "My son, the battle is between two wolves that live inside us all. One is evil. It is anger, envy, jealousy, sorrow, regret, greed, arrogance, self-pity, guilt, resentment, inferiority, lies, false pride, superiority, and ego. The other is good. It is joy, peace, love, hope, serenity, humility, kindness, benevolence, empathy, generosity, truth, compassion, and faith." The grandson thinks about it for a while and says, "Which wolf wins?" The grandfather replies, "The one you feed." The story of the two wolves teaches us that our future, our destiny is in our own control. And it is up to you to feed your courage. It is up to you to choose love over fear in every moment. To know that we are in times when the energy is dense and this inner struggle is going on. And we do have the ability to make these choices in every moment. And that is what really changes our world. To have the courage to face our fear in these uncertain times. And we also may feel a sense of betrayal. With some of these revelations coming up, in the outer world, we also might be having revelations coming up in our personal world. And there might be a sense of betrayal or a feeling of betrayal. But this is ultimately an aspect of self-empowerment to show us where we have disempowered ourselves by our choices and how we can become self-empowered again. That it is all about making different choices. But the first step Pluto always brings up is radical self-forgiveness, is to allow ourselves to see how we've given our power away to outside authorities and how to take it back and to forgive ourselves and to forgive others, because we're all learning this and it is part of the process. And we may also find that we are having power struggles with others. And it's an opportunity to stand in our own self-sovereignty, to say what it is we want and what we don't want, to have the courage to do that. This aspect gets down to the core of our being of self-sovereignty. And triggers may be up as wounds around self-sovereignty show up. Deep truths emerge about ourselves, our relationships, and our world. And Pluto is also about the collective. We have our own personal unconscious, but we're part of the bigger collective unconscious. And it's about cleaning up our own stuff so that we can contribute in a self-empowering way. And so deep truths, like I said, will emerge about ourselves, but also these old paradigms are collapsing in on themselves due to their innate corruption. As they align with fear. Part of this time for us moving into other dimensions is about self-empowerment and releasing old stories and conditioning of the old paradigm that are based in fear and separation. We are moving into unity consciousness. The deeper we go into divisiveness and separation, the more fear wins. And so when we can recognize that, yes, we are different, we have diversity, and to recognize diversity, but in a heart level, we all connect. We all are children of the Great Mother, of Creator, and we're all together here in this journey. And to know that truth aligns with love, fear aligns with falsity, with lies, and that the new is waiting to be born. So let us have the courage to choose love. Okay, and to step out of the fear. Now, there's another really important aspect that is happening for pretty much all of 2021, and that is Uranus square Saturn. But at this solar eclipse, Ceres is exactly conjunct Uranus. They're both at 12 degrees of Taurus. Ceres is the great mother. She's Mother Earth. And so I feel like, well, for one thing, I just went to an incredible workshop with Freddie Silva, and it's around earth energy, telluric currents, earth currents, and the energy of Mother Earth and sacred sites, and these vortexes that are at these sacred sites, and how they actually connect us to other dimensions, and how many of the ancient temples were built over these natural sacred sites where there are vortexes. And these energy vortexes are always above some type of underground body of water or current as well. So there's a combination of water and earth in these. And that this is a time to be reminded of how important our sacred sites are, and that they are being activated. In this time of great change, they are being activated, and Mother Earth is calling for these sites to be returned to her caretakers, the indigenous people that have taken care of them for so long, that they know how to work with her energy in those places. But we are also all being called to go to different sacred sites, because that's one of the ways that we line our energy up with Mother Earth. She opens our hearts and helps us raise our vibration. And this workshop that I was in, it was in Sedona, which are energy vortexes everywhere. We learned, it was called A Course in Temple Making. And what I learned, the most important thing I learned, was how these energy currents, these telluric currents of Mother Earth, respond to our intention by asking them. I saw these currents change in response to our intention that was verbalized. And so there's two things I want to say here. One is the course was called A Course in Temple Making, of how to work with these energies in your own home to create. But I think the really, really important thing to know is the power of intention, of how energy flow is not good or bad, is how we direct it. And this is magic. And this is what the ancient magicians knew. This is what shamans know. This is what those who remembered, and I feel like this is a piece of the Uranus-Saturn square, is this remembering of this old sacred knowledge about earth energy and how to work with it. And that thoughts and words combined with our heart, which the frequency or vibration create, okay? And there's a very special word called abracadabra, and it's a magical word. And I read that one understanding of it is, I bless you with my words, or two, I create with my voice. And I feel like that's really what this is about. It is learning how to create with our voice, and how to direct energy with our voice to create. This is one of the new teachings. At this solar eclipse, Jupiter is in Pisces. It just recently moved there and is there until around the end of July. And, I believe this is bringing in a belief in the future, the field of infinite possibility, and the attitude of gratitude changes our reality. Jupiter's the ancient ruler of Pisces, and Pisces is that part of us where we are all one. And Jupiter is a blessing, is like our guardian angel. And the last thing I want to talk about in this is the Sabian symbol, which is a cafeteria with an abundance of choices. That's where I feel like we are. As the old way of being and living are collapsing in on itself, we have an opportunity to make new choices. And I had a shamanic experience once where I was in the great void, and I was asked, why do we keep creating the same reality when there are so many others? And I feel like this is where this holy curiosity comes in. There are so many layers and levels of dimensions and realities, and we do not want to create the same reality that we have. There is another way. And the holy curiosity takes us down that path. And I want to close with a quote from Albert Einstein. And it says, well, first of all, I want to say this: the only things that are impossible are what we believe are impossible. Okay. And the important thing is to stop questioning. Curiosity has its own reason for existence. The important thing is not to stop questioning. That's what's so important. And curiosity has its own existence. One cannot help but be in awe when he contemplates the mysteries of eternity, of life, of the marvelous structure of reality. It is enough if one tries merely to comprehend a little of this mystery each day. Never lose a holy curiosity. Curiosity is a gift, and some say it is the existence of our reality. If we are creating what we are creating all the time, our own reality, and curiosity opens the door to tremendous potential, infinite potential. All right. Well, wishing you all a great month. And I also want to let you know that I'm having another ceremony on summer solstice. And we will be celebrating when the sun moves into 0 degrees Cancer, when the sun is at its highest, and all of the gifts that this summer solstice brings, gifts of the Great Mother. And so I hope you join me. It's on June 20th at 1:30 p.m. And you can find the more information on my website at sybylstar.com. And if you like this video, please subscribe. All right. Thank you.